Hey, so Richard Blais, welcome to the Smart Kitchen Summit, man.
Oh my gosh, so excited to be here. We're
So-
just coming off stage. I'm like very like,
Yeah, you were pumped up. The crowd loved
post
you.
up. I try really hard. So sometimes too much. Sometimes too much, but
Well,
it was
good.
fun.
And I thought, some of the things I like to hear about from someone like you, who works with food all the time, like, what are you most excited about when you hear about this intersection of food and technology? Is there something like you're seeing or something you really get excited about?
Yeah, I'm gonna take a broad stroke, but like the idea, convenience is always incredibly inspiring to me. So I think sometimes in the food tech world, we can get too obsessed with precision, right? But with food, a lot of times it's the convenience factor and convincing someone that, using a robot or cooking a certain way or using a certain oven is going to make their life a little bit easier.
Yeah.
So I'm inspired by seeing a lot of that today on the floor and hearing about all these amazing companies in automation and robotics and smart ovens and smart appliances, et cetera.
Well, one of the things that we saw when digital tools started to come out is there was this, kind of traditional artists, you work in like paint and kind of old school analog world, said, hey, that isn't art, that is like kind of just computer science. But what we saw is we saw an explosion of creativity when art got digitized and things got more digitized. Do you think as we see the kitchen become more digitized, you give people more tools to work with? Do you think there can be a similar kind of explosion in kind of innovation and kind of maker innovation?
Killing the game. What a great question. Yes, I think that's the key. Is not forgetting the paintbrush, right? Or in our case, the hot pan, right? Or the salt and pepper, if you will. Yeah. But then combining it with whatever the technology is. I think, for me, two items that I cook a lot of my restaurants. One is I'm a proponent and a fan of sous vide cooking. You have to combine it with a wood burning grill, right? And that's when you find you sort of digitize the art, if you will, to sort of make it more delicious or more of an experience. I make ice cream using liquid nitrogen. There's less ice crystals in it. It makes it a better mouthfeel. It makes it more delicious. So it is that sort of combination of respecting the past and looking into the future.
You're in a lot of different media formats. You're on TV, you're online, you're on social. One of the things we talk a lot about at the Spoon and the Smart Kitchen Summit is what is the next generation of the cookbook? Where is food media going? As you look at like these new ways to express yourself and get yourself into households and kind of share what you're doing with food, do you think a lot about that? Are you excited about maybe new formats and maybe can bring in new audiences?
Yeah, incredibly excited. Even when it comes to, restaurants that aren't physical restaurants. Just spitballing with you right now, like why can't you open up a restaurant only on Instagram?
Right.
Quite honestly, you can. Like if I
the
wanted to,
ghost kitchen from Instagram.
Right. You could link me up with someone that very easily could be like, here's an egg sandwich with a beautiful runny yolk that got hundreds of thousands of views or whatever it is, and that we can then deliver.
What is it
that
with the
food.
whole yolk thing in Instagram?
What is it?
Do you have an answer for that?
I
it's
think
yolk porn, right? Like,
it is
Porn.
definitely. I think one, it's like, it's yellow and it's oozy, gooey.
It pops off the screen.
Yeah, it's oozy gooey. Once you combine those two things, whether it's melty cheese or a broken yolk, that's just how things go viral usually. Yeah.
So there's some crazy ideas like at the summit. A lot of people talking about this idea of like getting more digital information about food to take what someone makes and then reproduce it in another location. And there's a company called Open Meals, for example, that's trying to they did like a cool thing at South by basically teleporting food. But the idea behind it is let's digitize food. Could you imagine someday, like 20 years in the future, someone basically saying this is a Richard Blais meal exactly as he made it because we were able to kind of understand it from a digital format perspective and just reproduce it? Have you thought about that, like kind of expanding yourself into other venues geographically you can be because there's tools to reproduce the food, or is that too crazy a question?
No, I think once you say it's too crazy, that you've lost your sort of ambition, if you will, to do exciting things. That sounds, it sounds fun to me. Does it sound hard and challenging? Yeah. Absolutely, of course, right? But it's not hard to envision. Again, it has to be delicious, but specifically with like Open Meals, when you start really looking at what the core of that could be, providing nutrition around the world, because providing nutrition and providing a great 5-star dining experience are two totally different things, right? If you told me that I can, print calories, which is what we're saying basically, to help feed the world, then I can see that happening and want that to happen sooner than later.
If you were to give advice to like a young chef who's technology savvy or you know, just wants to get started in the game, is there any advice you give someone who wants to kind of like become a chef for their life, or they're like, is there technology you think that they can embrace? Anything in that regard?
I mean, right off the bat, I mean, obviously now it's like old hat, but like social media is one where, you know, really for any artist, specifically chefs though, like you can showcase your craft and then take it right to, you can crowdsource whether or not your food looks good. I mean, most likely if your food looks good, it's probably delicious, right? And I think that's one of the amazing things, to have this ability to crowdsource ideas online is something that everyone should take advantage. Not just chefs, but anyone who's an artist or business person.
How has Instagram changed your profession, like it's affected you personally, right? Like, because it is so important to the food culture, how has it changed things for you?
I mean, one, it's made me pay more attention to like obviously the visual aspects of food, or even like the video production of a scene, you know, like I said, you have to look at it like that. That yolk getting cut is a scene, right? So I think it helps you become a better storyteller. And then once you realize that like what you need to be great is to also have a great product, but also be able to tell that story. You know, that's what it's enabled, you know, me to do. And then also, I think I told you backstage, like, find other chefs and other restaurants that are hitting certain metrics that then drive me to beat them in a certain way, which is something that you don't see in restaurants a lot, right? Like, we get reviews from some critic.
So it gets the competitive fire going.
It's an interesting way to look at competition, right?
Yeah.
When you look at a restaurant that's, you know, in a similar genre than you, and be like, why do they have more followers? You know, what are they doing differently? It's an interesting way to sort of compete or stay on top of your game.
Hey, well, Richard Blais, thanks for taking time.
So excited. We'll be back.
All right, man. Come back.
All right.
Thanks.